Welcome to the Life Hacks Show. Life Hacks gives you proof hacks and tips for the best version of yourself. And here is your crash test dummy for a better life, Marcus Moirer.
Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of the Life Hacks Show. Today with a good buddy and good friend, Jasper Rivers from the Netherlands. Jasper, how are you doing?
I'm great, Marcus. I'm great. Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for your time and thanks for being on the show.
For sure. Thanks for the opportunity.
You're calling yourself the Traveling Dutchman. What does it mean?
Well, it means that I'm Dutch and that I travel.
Where do you travel and how long are you doing this?
I'm traveling already for about 6 years. I used to work in finance in Amsterdam and Chicago. And after 6 years sitting in an office on a desk behind a bunch of flat screens, I decided that I wanted more adventure in my life. And I quit my job, sold all my belongings, and I started traveling and never really looked back since.
Wow, that sounds like very easy what you have done, and sounds like it was a no-brainer. Was it that easy, or
no?
What challenges did you have on your way till you're there where you're now?
Well, first of all, to make the decision to give up a career that you've been working on for 6 years, and that's financially very rewarding, is not a very easy step. It's not something that you just come up with one day and do it. You know, I probably thought about this step for about a year, and even though I had some savings, it was still quite scary because I didn't really know anything else than my trading job. So I wasn't sure if I would ever have to go back to another job, and what kind of job it would be, and if I would make the same amount of money, probably not. So it was still quite a scary move, but I felt like I had no choice because
really
I thought that I was sure that the life that I was leading at the time wasn't really going to make me happy. It wasn't really what I wanted from life. That's what I knew.
How did it look like?
Well, I mean, I was doing really well financially. I was living in an awesome condominium in downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
I was driving a sports car. I was like, I had a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I had to sit in this office the whole day. And when I grew up, I always thought that making a lot of money was what I was supposed to do. That was what success was, right? But when I achieved that, I didn't really get the fulfillment from it. So I had to sort of like rethink what I wanted from my life.
And were there a special situation or moment where you started to rethink, or did it come slowly?
It's kind of started slowly creeping up on me, but there was one particular moment where I was out with some friends, and so in the US, people support success a lot, especially financial success, right? They're very excited about that. So I met a bunch of people, and they were all, telling me that they were very jealous of my situation and stuff. And then I went back home, and as soon as I got home, I sat on the couch, and I just kind of stared at the ceiling for like 10 minutes. And I had this weird feeling where I thought, I don't really feel super excited about this, but everybody is telling me that I should be. So there was a real disconnect in my mind, and that was kind of the moment that I realized, okay, I think I have to change something.
Normally it comes from people who are not at this stage. They assume it's going to be great if you have money, if you have the car, you can buy everything. But once you're at this level, I think it's not what many people think about. It feels like.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, society tells you, well, as you grow up, that's kind of like the ultimate success, right? And so you expect a lot from it. Yeah. You really expect that it's going to give you fulfillment, it's going to give you happiness, and it really doesn't. But it's hard to understand that before you get to that point.
Yeah, I see. I think the whole system and the whole education is formed like this, getting people into jobs and then seeking for this ultimate satisfaction, which is not true and not for real if once you're at this step, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the education they should probably have some sort of class where you teach people how to figure out what you want from life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because nobody ever really, I never really asked myself. I just kind of assumed that, just being successful with a career was the solution, and no one really challenged me to think about that idea, or to challenge that idea. So I think it would be very good to have some sort of education geared towards that in when you're younger.
Mm. What were your first resources when you came to the point that it's not that fulfilling as you were thinking about? Where did you start when you were sure, okay, maybe I have to change something in life, maybe I need to orientate on other purposes?
Well, I mean, for me, it's, I always knew in the back of my head that I wanted to travel for an extended period of time. I always had the dream of just traveling the world by myself for like a year. And I thought it was just going to be a year at the time. So, I had enough savings from my financial career. So I was thinking, okay, well, if I travel for 1 year and then I have to go back to some job,
Yeah.
then at least I get to have that experience, right? At least I get to sort of live that dream of traveling for a year. So I figured I'll just start with that, and then I remember I went to Brazil first, and that's where I read the book that I'm sure you have read, and everybody else has read, the 4-Hour Workweek.
Uh-huh.
I think back then, this is 6 years ago. I don't know how well known the book was back then. But that's the first time that I suddenly started realizing, hey, maybe I can travel and work at the same time. Mm-hmm. Because I honestly, like, when I was at my job, I really didn't know if that was even possible. Like, it didn't even cross my mind that was possible.
Yeah. Same for me. So yeah, when we started out, it was never planned like being location independent and working on the road. We just stumbled into this lifestyle. But I heard from many people that it's really like a great trigger reading this book and then like seeing a whole new perspective of life and seeing a whole new option, and this gives many people the drive to go on and stick to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's funny, like how you just don't consider it as part of reality until you see somebody who's actually, who's made it happen. And I actually met a German guy at the same time I was reading the book, and he was the first person that I've ever met who was actually doing this lifestyle. He was doing some sort of affiliate marketing, and I really remember like sitting with him at the bar, looking at him. He was like 25 years old. And I was literally thinking, like, so this stuff that I'm reading in that book, this is not some sort of like dream. I'm sitting right next to a person who's actually living that dream right now. And so those two things, the book and meeting that person, was really what kind of inspired me to find out how I could make that happen.
Yeah. And this was in Brazil at this time when you were traveling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so, what were the next steps? And did you have a good chat with this guy at the bar about affiliate marketing, and you went for affiliate marketing, or did you test some other stuff out? And how did you find your way?
Well, I really had no idea what affiliate marketing was. I mean, I didn't know anything about computers. I didn't know anything about internet. I didn't know anything about websites. I literally, the only thing I knew was finance, was trading, and so I had no idea where to start. And so I literally Googled how to make money online. Yeah, that's literally how it started.
And staying in this financial area and trading on your own was not an option at this time? Because nowadays, I know co-working spaces like Sundays in Tagazu, Morocco, they have like these trading screens there hanging in a co-working space, which is quite impressive.
Yeah, no, I noticed that too. There's a lot of people who are trading right now, and they're traveling around. But at the time, I don't know if the software was yet available, but the other thing is I just sat in an office for 6 years behind these screens, and I really wanted to do something different, So I was thinking, maybe in the future I'll go back to trading if I have to, but I really wanted to try something new.
Yeah, got it. So you were literally starting from scratch from zero. You were just mentioning.
Absolutely, I was starting absolutely from scratch, and when it's funny when I look back now. I think back then there weren't so many resources. Like these days, you have a lot of websites that sort of teach people, how to start online businesses and all that kind of stuff. But I remember back then I couldn't really find a lot of good information. We didn't have the fire entrepreneur on fire like Pat Flynn and all those guys.
Yeah.
They like so I didn't find very good advice. I remember.
What
so
popped
I kind
up?
of
What popped up on Google when you were searching for how to make money online?
Well, the first thing I ran into was something called SEO, which at the time I had never heard of. But I looked into it, and then I had this idea to start a lot of websites and just build a one-page website with a certain keyword in the URL, and then just optimize that one page for that keyword, and then use Google Ads to monetize it. I mean, that was the first thing I came up with after reading a little bit about SEO. And I thought it was a really good idea, and it actually worked. Surprisingly, looking back, I'm surprised, but it actually did work, and it's because I was in Brazil and I looked at the keywords that people search for in Brazil, and there were some really high some keywords with really high traffic. So I was actually able to make a couple $1,000s a month just by putting up some really simple websites for a while.
Okay, and these websites were in English or on Portuguese?
No, they were in Portuguese. So I hired somebody to literally write a random article about some keyword. I mean, some of the keywords I didn't even know what it meant. Yeah, I just saw that there was like 500,000 people per month searching for it.
It's really crazy in what worked for Google and how you could game Google in these days. In former times, like 6-7 years ago, I don't know if it still works, but like white font on white background and hiding some keywords like on the very right side out of your screen and all this weird stuff.
I know. I was shocked, to be honest, because that I actually thought at the time, I thought, wow, look at me, I'm smart. I just figured it out within a few months. I'm already making money. I was like, this is amazing. But after a few months, well, it lasted for, I don't know, maybe like 6 months or a year or so, and then Google actually shut down my account because they didn't like my business model so much.
Yeah, obviously. But this is, I think, also a very tough moment or a strange feeling. I know from many SEOs in Germany. I'm also coming from the SEO industry and went broader than in online marketing and then into entrepreneurship. But when I started out as an SEO, I know that there were agencies with employees and lots of people employed just based on the business model, setting up crappy niche websites which worked at these times, and then Google changed the algorithm like the famous Google dances, and then their whole business was like shut down on zero, and they had to let people go out of their companies. So was it hard for you?
Well, basically what I did at the time, I tried something else. I tried a nutrition supplement business with a website, and that was largely also based on the stuff that I learned from SEO. And then when one of those updates hit, I think it was either Panda or Penguin or something, and then my nutritional supplement business kind of collapsed too, because it was also built on my SEO knowledge. So. So definitely, I was definitely one of the people that was affected by that. But looking back, that was a great thing for me to happen, because as a result, I figured out more fulfilling things to do and doing things that I'm more passionate about. So I'm actually very happy that Google shut down my account, and then they introduced the Panda and the Penguin and stuff. Even though it killed my business, I'm still happy because the stuff that I'm doing now is much more fun. I'm way more passionate about it. I feel like I'm way more contributing to the world by what I'm doing now. So And it's funny, you know, because it's often the case that when something happens, you initially think it's bad,
Yeah.
and then later it turns out that it's actually a blessing in disguise.
I've realized this so many times also in my life and talking to friends and other entrepreneurs. It's always like at the end you can connect the dots and say, okay, this was exactly what should have happened to me at this time of period, because now this gave me the right direction to where I am now.
Exactly. You know, there's a book. It's called the Obstacle is the Way, and it talks all about how what you think is an obstacle could actually be like a stepping stone to something much better, and it often is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very often. So you changed your business again, and what did you do? What did you do next?
So after Google kind of killed my business, I ran into Airbnb, and I had been renting out my apartment to long-term renters in Amsterdam, and that wasn't really making much money, and I also didn't like the fact that I couldn't stay in my own house when I was back home. Yeah. So I thought, you know what, let me just focus on this Airbnb thing for a while. So I listed my apartment on Airbnb. I read every resource I could find. I spent a lot of time like optimizing that business, learning how to be a good host, learning how the system works, how Airbnb, the website works, the algorithm, etc. And soon enough, I was making a lot of money for my apartment. So that was really cool, because then I kind of realized, hey, I don't really have to have another business. I can live off my apartment right now.
Cool. And your apartment was based in Amsterdam, or where is it?
Yeah, it's in Amsterdam. That's okay. Right.
So there was already enough demand, but because I think, maybe nowadays it should work also in some remote areas. But at these days, when was Airbnb already that popular?
No, when I started back in 2012, it was definitely a lot smaller than it is now. I think at the time there were maybe like 200,000-300,000 listings worldwide, or maybe even less. And I think right now there's over 2 million. So, it was definitely a lot smaller, but there was a lot of demand. I started making money like pretty much from the get-go, and and later as I optimized my listing, my income went up even more. But yeah, I mean, Amsterdam is a good place to do Airbnb to start with. So
it's a great city, huh? It's a lot to do there, lots of entertainment. I think people love it.
Yeah, exactly, and it's also not that seasonal, Even though we have a winter, it's really only January, February where the amount of visitors goes down a bit, but the rest of the year it's very stable and steady.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So you make a living out of your Airbnb flat at the moment?
Well, I mean, this is like 3-4 years ago that I started doing it, and at the time I was like, whoa, this is awesome. I don't have to do anything else, so I just focused on my Airbnb listing, and I was having fun. I started this travel blog.
What is it called?
It's the Traveling Dutchman.
And the URL?
The travelingdutchman.com.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I just started doing that on the side for fun, really, and but that kind of taught me how to run a blog and the possibilities there are to also monetize a blog, because I never knew about that. So after a while, I was I was just like kind of like having a good time, like going to all these beach places, partying and etc. But you also get bored of that at some point, right?
Where were the best parties where you've been?
Oh God, well, I mean, Brazil.
I'm sure you tested a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, Brazil is amazing. I spent a lot of time in Florianopolis in the south. I spent New Year's in Brazil on the beach twice in a place called São Miguel dos Milagres, which was really fun. I was kind of like globetrotting. I was going around the world visiting friends in different places and just hanging out. And it was great fun, but at some point I wanted to be more productive. I wanted to do something cool. Okay. So then I thought, you know what? I already know how to do a blog. I had already written a book about traveling, and so the next thing I came up with was, let me be the Airbnb expert. Why don't I write a book about Airbnb? Because I saw that a lot of hosts weren't really doing a good job. They were leaving a lot of money on the table. So I wrote a book about Airbnb hosting, Get Paid for Your Pad. And then I started a podcast, and I also started a blog about Airbnb.
Cool. And how did that go with that book?
Yeah, the book went really well. And the first book I wrote was a travel book that completely failed. Amazon didn't even accept it because they told me it was too generic. The information
Really?
was too generic. Yeah,
Never heard about this. That they refused.
Yeah, so that was kind of like I was a little bit depressed for a week or so because I worked on it really hard.
Wow,
but it taught me a very important lesson. It taught me the lesson to focus on a very specific niche when you write a book, and then also to write the best book in that niche. So I read every single book on Airbnb that was out there. There was like maybe 10 books or something at the time. So I read all of them. I searched the internet for weeks, trying to find articles about Airbnb hosting. And I sort of combined my own experience with everything that I could find on the internet and all the knowledge that I got from those other books. And then I really made it my goal to just create the best book on Airbnb hosting available. And I think it was that focus that I had that made it successful.
Cool. How long did it take you to write this book?
Well, the actual writing of the manuscript didn't take me that long. I think I spent about a month on it. But then there was a lot of other stuff that comes with publishing a book. It's like the interior design, it's the pictures, it's the formatting, it's the layout, it's the editing, the proofreading, and all that kind of stuff. So the whole process actually, including launching it, the whole process actually took almost about 6 months.
Okay. And do you have some special hacks or tricks you want to share how to launch? And I think your book really took off, right? Was an Amazon bestseller then?
Yeah, it did really take off, and it's still doing very well. Like its sales are still very consistent, and I'm actually about to launch the second version. I'm almost doubling the content, so I'm really excited about that. But it did do really well, and we had some help from somebody who had a lot of knowledge about how to publish on Amazon. So some of the things that are important is picking the right categories. Like you can pick 2 categories, and you want to make sure you pick one category that's not too competitive, because then it'll be easier to get to number 1 in that category.
Okay.
So that's a big thing, and then it's also about putting in the right keywords in the right places, so that when somebody searches for Airbnb now on Amazon, my book is the first one to show up out of like 400 results. And it also has to do with making sure that the word Airbnb is in the title, and the description, and the subtitle, etc. So there's a few things, and then also of course you want to get a lot of reviews. So that's another thing that you need to be aware of, that you get some reviews before you launch the book, so that when people can buy it, you already need some reviews, right? Because nobody's going to buy a book that has no reviews. So you want to get some reviews from friends, family, or you want to send your book to some people who can review it for you. So those are probably I'd say the most important things.
And you went on with the book, or what was the next step after the book? I think you just mentioned a website you built up especially for this book, or was it on the topic Airbnb in general?
Yeah, I initially just created the site just to have a place where I could, kind of promote and show the book. But after I built it, I thought I might as well write some articles about Airbnb, because I already knew so much about it. And I really like talking about Airbnb. I like writing about Airbnb. So it turned into a blog. And, now it's the blog is actually doing pretty well, too. It's making some money because I have a bunch of affiliate deals. And I also started a podcast, also kind of just for fun as well, but also to try and support the book sales a little bit. And I've also created a video course on Airbnb hosting, and I have a Fiverr server. So I kind of have this whole business around Airbnb hosting now.
Cool. So your takeaway would be, or your recommendation for people who don't know where to stick or where to focus on to find one topic and then being the best expert possible on this topic and then scaling like your online info products?
Yeah, exactly. Like, because when you start out, you don't have much credibility yet, right? And so, if you're competing against somebody who's already have a book on Amazon with 20, 30 reviews, or maybe somebody who's already written multiple books, then that's really hard. So you really want to pick a very, very, very specific topic. I'd say like try to niche down as much as you can until you've reached such a specific topic that you can easily become the number one expert in that niche. And then once you gain credibility, once you get some reputation, then you can start talking about broader subjects, right? Mm-hmm. So now, for example, if I were to write another book, I could make it a little bit broader. I could maybe write a book on the sharing economy, right? Because now I already have some credibility in that niche with this more specific niche, Airbnb.
Mm. And how do you make sure that the audience is still big enough?
Well, the cool thing about Airbnb, and one of the reasons that I chose Airbnb, is because I expected it to grow very fast. Because it's, obviously the sharing economy is something that's growing, but particularly Airbnb, I just noticed that the website was so easy to use. These guys are very innovative, and so I figured the Airbnb niche will be a growing niche, and it really is, because since I wrote the book, there's now 4 times more Airbnb hosts than there were at the time when I wrote the book. So, the trend is my friend.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that you're also very active on producing online courses on Udemy.
That's right.
Can you tell me a bit more about how you tackle this topic and how professional or how serious you have to take it? Because once in a while you always hear about just launch a course on Udemy, and I think many people try it, but maybe they're missing something to get that successful that like you are on Udemy.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you want to get your income from the platform Udemy, then it's a long-term process. You need to reserve like 1 to 2 years, I'd say, to build up a significant student base to make significant income. Like I'm making about between $500 and $1,000, and I started about a year ago. And but there's different ways that you can use Udemy. You don't have to be a full-time Udemy instructor. You can there's different ways to do it. You could also just create one Udemy course and market it to your own audience. If you already have an audience, then you can use Udemy simply as like a video hosting and payment platform.
All right.
Or if you want to learn how to do video and not necessarily seeing Udemy as your end goal, but if you just want to become good at making video courses, then Udemy is also a great platform because it has a lot of resources and tools for you to produce a really good video course. Plus, it has all these different functionalities to get feedback from your students. You can communicate with your students. You can see like which videos get watched more than others. You can even see at which point your students will drop off in your video, so you can see when it gets boring. And so you can get reviews, because you can literally, if you do a free promotion on Udemy, you get thousands of students, right? And so that you can use those students to sort of like experiment and learn how to create a really good course. And then once you've learned that, you can take those skills and apply them elsewhere.
Like Teachable or other platforms where you are more or less the host, but then I think you already need to have a big audience, like you were just mentioning, like bringing all the traffic then on this platform instead of participating on the traffic which is already on that marketplace Udemy. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you're using Teachable, then you can publish it on your own site, but you don't necessarily. I mean, it's not. I think even if you have a small blog with a small audience, it's not a bad idea to learn how to create good videos, because video is a trend in itself, right? And so whether you can use those skills in different ways. You can also, maybe you want to do some YouTube videos in the future, or maybe instead of writing a lot of content, you want to maybe produce some videos on your blog, right? So, the video is just a really interesting medium to communicate with your audience. It's a much more personal way to communicate with your audience, because body language makes up a larger percentage of communication. The words that you say or write is only like 7% of what you communicate. So even if you don't necessarily want to create a course that you're going to sell to your audience, it's still a great way to learn more about video.
Definitely, and you get all these data insights you were just mentioning, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can get some really interesting insights in the in how much the people like your videos. So you can experiment a lot. Let's say you create a little course and you put like 20 videos up there, and you experiment. You do one talking head, you do one screencast, you do a combination, you experiment with some different visuals, and then you just get a couple thousand students in your course, and then you just look at which are the videos that people watch and how long do they watch them for. And that tells you a lot about what is a good video. Because if you think about it, like, what is a good video? Well, to me, a good video is a video that people watch. Because people have very short attention spans on the internet. So if you can make like a 3 or 4 minute video, and you can learn how to make it interesting and engaging and visually appealing, so that people, like the majority of people who start the video, actually make it all the way to the end, that's a very, very, very valuable skill to have.
Yeah, totally. And is there any way to get the data from Udemy, like all the people who paid for your video to build an own list on own audience, or is Udemy that very restrictive?
Yeah, no, they won't provide you with the email addresses, but what you can do is, there's two things. You can message people, so you can build some relationship with them, and then of course in your profile you can mention your website, and you're also allowed to mention resources outside of Udemy. So you're allowed to promote your own website that way, as long as you don't point people towards a page where you ask them either for their email address or to buy something. So, and there's another thing. You can also send out announcements to all your students. So let's say you want to, you kind of want to direct more people to your own website. You can send out 4 announcements a month, and you can literally just write a blog post on your website and then send out an announcement to all your Udemy students and say, hey guys, I wrote this interesting blog post. It covers these and these topics, and I thought it would be really interesting for you. So go ahead and check it out.
Okay. But I think you have to be a little bit careful now, not to get restricted from Udemy.
Well, as long as that page where you're sending them to, as long as the information is free and you're not asking for an email address on that page, so you can't have like an opt-in or something.
Yeah.
Right? You can't direct students to like a sign-up page or an opt-in page or something like that. But just a resource, that's totally fine. And then people still see your website, right? And so some of the people that will go to that blog post, they will still sign up.
Okay, so now your actual focus is on producing videos and more content on Udemy, or what is your next step? Like, you already went through very different phases in your online entrepreneur life.
Yeah, so right now I have kind of like 2 focuses. Focus number 1 is becoming one of the top Udemy instructors, and the focus number 2 is to build out my Airbnb business. So to grow my blog, to get more book sales. Like I said, I just launched the 2nd version, so the book is going to be I think it's going to be over 300 pages now. So it's a really pretty big resource.
Is it already
I want to grow. No, it's with the interior designer right now. So I'm planning to launch it somewhere probably halfway mid-May, end to May,
okay.
May.
Cool.
And I want to grow the podcast. So I really enjoy teaching other people how to use Airbnb. I really like helping people with their Airbnb listings, improving their results. And I know how much value there is because, if you optimize your listing and you get just 3 or 4 more bookings in a month, that can make you a lot of extra money, right? So there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of opportunity, and I'm very passionate about Airbnb. So it's something that I really enjoy doing, and so I definitely want to grow that business.
Right. Sounds really cool. It sounds like a plan, and I think it shows you should be always ready and willing to adapt to new situations. Even if Google shuts down your business, you should be, I think, willing to make a lifelong learning, especially being on the road as a digital nomad.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that happens, every time you come across an obstacle, it always turns out to be a blessing in disguise. It always something that will propel you to the next level. So, I would say to everybody out there who's maybe starting a business or who's thinking about starting a business, just know that there's going to be a lot of bears on the road. There's going to be a lot of valleys. But those moments are the moments where you will take action, and those usually tend to be a stepping stone towards the next level, towards making progress. So embrace those moments, don't fear them, and you'll be fine.
Right, I think that's a good end of our episode. Thank you so much, Jasper. Where are you traveling at the moment?
I'm in the Philippines right now.
In Manila, right?
That's right.
And what are your next stops? When do we see us each again?
I'm going to Hong Kong next week. I do some life coaching on the side as well, so I have a few clients there, and then I think I'm going to Taiwan.
Taiwan, wow, that's a place I always wanted to go to.
Yeah, I've never been, so it's exciting.
Yeah, sounds really exciting. Okay, Jasper, thanks for your time. See you on the road. And
okay, Marcus, thank you so much for your time, and auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen, mein Freund. Bis bald. Okay, guys.
Okay, ciao.
Ciao. Okay, guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Lifehack Show, the DNX podcast. See you next time. I'll hear you next time. Peace and out. Yes, yo. This was another episode of the Life Hacks Show. If you love what you're listening to and can use some of the tools and hacks we are sharing on the Life Hacks Show, I would be more than happy if you can give me a review or rating on iTunes. Follow me on facebook.com/Moira Markus and just ping me and give me some feedback that would mean the world to me. So long, have fun, peace and out.